back out here. I am still home. I have been on the clock since, when have I been on the clock since? Tuesday. It is today, Saturday, and I haven't gotten a load. I've had 5 teasers. That's it. So, out of frustration, I decided to go for a drive. That's the part of this business you got to learn to deal with. Sometimes you get loaded and sometimes you don't. But this has been a long dry sprout because I was off for a week and now it's been 5 days in service and I haven't driven, and it's kind of hard on the pocketbook. But I'm going to go out today, do a little driving. I'm going up north. This is in front of us. This is I-45 north of Houston, and I'm heading up towards Huntsville. There's a museum up there I want to look at here in a second. Okay, supercharger kick in. So this is the feeder road up here. We're going to get out on my interstate. I-45 northbound. I like this time of the day. I like it early and I like it late. I don't like the middle of the day. I like when the sun has shadows. So that's what we're doing right now. It's a museum I've seen on the side of the road. I think it's a military museum. It has a lot of aircraft outside. I've never actually stopped there, so I'm going to go up and look around and see what it looks like. Let's see if anybody wants to jump on here. This is a Kia Soul. It has stiff suspension, so it wobbles the camera around a little bit. Coming over. Cold air coming in. It is 60 degrees, which for us around here is kind of cold. Speed here. Alright. Speed limit is 65. I'm going 60. I'm not that big of a hurry. Just moseying up here. Let's see if I can get anybody on here before I start battling. Because that's what I do. I battle. I have to make this announcement. It's a YouTube requirement. I am not allowed to read the screen as it goes by. YouTube's big on that. I can only look at it when I'm stationary, and I apologize for that. But I can see people are popping on. I am northbound on I-45 north of Houston. I'm going to boogie up here to an aviation or a military museum I've seen on the side of the road that I've never been to. I keep looking over and glancing at it. But I'm going to go take a look outside. There's another one of the Cobra attack helicopters up on a stand outside I've seen in the distance, and I want to see what's going on with it up close. But the topic I have today is something that kind of bleeds into something else that happened in the last few days, is hang gliding. Hang gliders are those giant, if you're not familiar with them, it's basically a giant kite that you strap yourself into and you go jump off a mountain or a hillside or something, you go fly around. And they started out in the 60s, they were the rage back in the 70s. And I remember as a kid back then, they were like everywhere. People had these big racks on the roofs of their car. You roll it up, like one of those folding umbrella chairs, except it was on a bigger scale. And people would carry them and go jump and skydive. It was crazy, and they were everywhere. But after about the mid-'80s, the whole hang glider craze kind of faded out. It's still out there, but it's on a smaller scale. And like I said, I have to announce I'm not allowed to read the screen going down the road. That's the rules of YouTube. So I can't read this till we get stopped up here. But the limitation of a hang glider was you needed to have somewhere to jump off. You had to have a hill, so if you lived in the flats, you were kind of out of luck. So people would travel up into the mountains, and at the time, my family, we lived in Lake Tahoe. My dad lived in Lake Tahoe on the Sierra Nevada, so you'd see it a lot up there. And the industry was not regulated. It was just, anybody wants to go fly can go fly. You just figure it out on your own, and if you killed yourself, such is life. I mean, there's that. Well, that's a new sign. City of Willis. Huh. I didn't see that last time I was up here. And some guy took a chainsaw motor and attached it to the top of his hang glider and put a propeller on it. and took off from the ground on flat ground and flew up to altitude until the engine ran out of gas because they had little tiny gas tanks. And the engine quit, and then he would glide down from there, catch thermals, and fly. And that was the invention of the ultralight type aircraft, which is a self-powered hang glider. And again, the feds took a hands-off approach to it. They didn't regulate any aspect of it, and they put some restrictions on what it could be classified as. But generally speaking, they had no regulations on it. So you had, I think the limits, if memory serves, is you couldn't go more than 55 miles an hour. The whole get-up you got one seat, I think it was 254 pounds is the max weight. So it had to be super light, super slow. And then they just kind of stood back and washed their hands on it. And you go, okay. So here and the bold letters were you didn't have to have flight training. And when people read that, they translate that into, oh, I don't need to know how to fly. And the guys that were out doing it, mostly guys, they were like surfers and dirt bike riders and guys like that. That was the people that attracted. So here's an entire industry, completely unregulated, and you have people who don't know how to fly trying to fly these homemade aircraft, these little manufacturers, and they're being built by people who don't know how to build aircraft. And the name of the game is cheap. Save as much money as humanly possible. Get it into the air for the least overhead cost. So if the wings in this guy's ultralight took 16 spars, the support struts, well, why don't you just put in 12? And why would you want to use aviation grade material when you can just use the off-the-shelf stuff? So needless to say, the outcome of that was pretty much disastrous. And they had people getting killed, wings falling off, people crashing in trees. It was bad there for quite a while, and they finally tightened up and started controlling what people did in that industry. And I remember reading about this. Back in 1984, there were over 150, quote, ultralight manufacturers. Now today there's maybe 10, because all these little fly-by-night self-style aircraft manufacturers in a couple of days. I'm flipping through YouTube, which is where I hang out, and there is a little tiny helicopter they're advertising, and it got me thinking that there are a few kit helicopter companies out there, and one of them, I don't even know if they're around anymore, but 20 years ago it was called a helicopter called the Revolution 500, and the aircraft looked like a used 500. Think Magnum PI. Remember that helicopter, the bubble gum, the one with the crazy paint job? Kind of looks like that, but it's really small. And it was a kit helicopter. And what was happening, the first dozen or so that were sold, the people would build it and put it together, and then they would convince themselves, oh, I can fly this, and they would destroy it immediately. So they changed the rules where they wouldn't send you the tail rotor until you sent them a copy of your pilot's license, because everybody's got that, oh, I can do it mentality when it comes to things that fly. And that happened quite a bit. And there's another company that's been around forever called Rotoway, and it's out of Arizona. It's called a Rotoway Exec kit helicopter, and they're for sale everywhere. And what I'm noticing is they all have a for sale sign on them, and they have less than 20 hours of flight time. So it seems there's something wrong with them, because nobody wants to keep them after they build them. But it all comes down to flight training. Well, I'm playing around on YouTube, I'm scrolling through the pages, and I see a little helicopter. Some other company's putting out a helicopter-looking thing, and it says, no, you don't have to have a pilot's license, and I kind of laughed. And I kind of went into the comments, and I said, hey, the chances of somebody flying a helicopter without flight training are something less than zero. And I had a bunch of people pile on, and it's never a good thing to start arguing with people on the internet, because it's a waste of time, but I did it anyway. And these people piled in there and said, oh, I have thousands of hours of simulator time on my home computer, and I think I can fly it. Well, how many of those hours of simulator home computer time do you have playing Call of Duty? And are you going to bring that to the Army and say, hey, skip me past basic training and everything, just get my outfit and stick me in a special forces unit because I play Call of Duty? I mean, is that how that works? And I play, home NASCAR, and I've won the Super Bowl on my home computer. And somehow these guys convince themselves that by playing a video game in your house that translates into actual training. Now, procedurally, you can learn a lot from a simulator. You can learn the ins and outs of how to do the job, but its actual operation of the aircraft it doesn't work like that. And the only way I can compare that is watch somebody play the drums. Just stand there and watch them. You can learn music. You can see what rhythm has to be done. And you sit there and watch them, and they've got 4 appendages, and all of their appendages are doing something different. Your left leg, right leg, everything is doing. Sit there and watch. Okay, now you try it. Okay, that's flying a helicopter. Can you learn how to do it? Absolutely. Can you sit down and just do it on your first try? Absolutely not. And the problem with the helicopter is your rear end is attached to it, and it's going to kill you if you do it wrong. And that's kind of how flying a helicopter is. And then they come back, and these people will go, oh, well, there's been lots of cases of people flying airplanes. And yeah, we're talking about flying airplanes. We're not talking about helicopters. These are 2 different animals. These are as far as the east is from the west. Flying an airplane without a helicopter does not carry over. A helicopter pilot can fly an airplane pilot cannot fly a helicopter. That's just not how that works. And if you think about, and again, I try to explain this to people, they don't want to hear it. And I've had, when I used to fly out in the Gulf, and anybody just coming in, we're heading northbound on I-45, and I'm at the north side of Houston. I'm going up here to Huntsville. There is an aviation or a military museum up here. I've driven by it a dozen times, and I just want to go see what they have, because they have a bunch of aircraft outside. So I'm just going to boogie up here and take a peek at it. I don't even know what I was talking about. Airplanes, generally speaking, nowadays especially, kind of fly themselves. And if you are in an airplane and you're flying along at altitude and you trim it up where it's balanced out, and you can take those controls and you can pull them in every direction and then let go, and the aircraft will go back to a sweet spot where lift, drag, gravity, and thrust all meet in the middle, and it just flies in a straight line as long as it's trimmed out. If you let go and just do whatever you want, let go of the controls, the aircraft will go back to a steady state. A helicopter, you let go of the controls, and it's going to try to go 15 different directions at the same time. I mean, it's just, if you're driving a car, here's how we can do it. Way station, it's open. If you're driving a car at 150 miles an hour, and you want to change lanes, how much steering wheel pressure do you need to get the car to change lanes? Okay, that's the control touch of a helicopter when it's stationary. And if you look, this is just kind of explain you how this is working. It's kind of hard to do. I've never been a flight instructor. If you look up and your motor blade over your head's going to the right, the more power you put, the nose is going to go left. So the more the nose wants to go left, this little hover, you got to push on your right pedal. So you're coming up off the ground, you're pulling it up, you're increasing your power, you're twisting your blades a little bit, your blade's going right, your nose wants to go left, you're pushing on your right pedal, and the right pedal is pushing the aircraft to the right. So you're coming up, you're pushing on the pedal, and you're kind of leaning into it at the same time to come off the ground. And as soon as you stop climbing, you got to ease off on the stick and ease off on the pedals all at once. And it's a coordination that does not come naturally. And back in 2001, I think it was 2001, the first YouTube video I ever saw was a guy trying to fly a helicopter because he, quote, knew how to do it. And I was watching him start to get light on the skids, and he was losing control of the aircraft before he came off the ground. And he was already starting to lose it. He wasn't even in the air yet because because I could see the twist, the turn. And he got it off the ground, and he spun around in circles and dropped it back on the ramp and ripped off the tail rotor and basically blew the aircraft up. And it got out, stood there and looked stupid, which it was his aircraft. And in the process of that, the guy had the money for this. In the process of that, the tail number went by, and I looked up the tail number on the NTSB, and he never reported it. He just swept it up, put it in the dumpster, and acted like it didn't exist. So how are you gonna tell that to the feds? How are you gonna tell your insurance company? What happened? Well, I was trying to fly it. Do you know how to fly? No, but... And that was the argument I got into with some guy. He said, well, I'm a craftsman, and I've got good hand-eye coordination. I got some news flash for everybody out there. Every person you meet thinks they have good hand-eye coordination. Every person you meet thinks they're an above-average driver. But that's not how a helicopter flies. You can say, oh, I'm really smart. That's great. A helicopter is such an unnatural flying machine that there is no such thing as a natural-born helicopter pilot. You just don't get in there and go, oh, this makes sense. It doesn't work like that because it doesn't make sense. But that helicopter they're selling is oh, it doesn't require training. Yeah, okay. And then some guy, of course, popped in and goes, well, I've got one, and I didn't have any. Oh, so really? And I asked him his airspeed limitations, which is a very long answer. And he came back with, his response was, oh, I've had it up to 75 knots or miles per hour. I didn't really say. And I said, really, what's your ETL, which is effective translational lift, which is when you're hovering your stern up the air, and when you move in a direction, you kind of fly out of your rotor wash, and it gives you an instant boost in your lift. And ETL is pilot lingo. Well, the guy Googled it because he gave me a Google answer that wasn't accurate. And the numbers were about double what they should have been. And then he added on, the answer is, for a rotor system that small, it's about 10 to 12 knots. And he came back with 20 to 24 knots, depending on atmospheric conditions or density, altitude. He cut and pasted a Google answer, so it tells me he doesn't know what he's talking about. And just to rattle off a number, an airspeed limitation isn't how fast does it go. It's numbers you know off the top of your head for certain circumstances. And I haven't been in a Cobra attack helicopter in 35 years and have no reason to know knowledge about it because I'm never going to fly. My flying career, I've retired from aviation. The Cobras are all in the museums. That's what we're going to see right now. But I can tell you this, if somebody walks up to another person claiming to be a Cobra pilot, I'm going to ask them the airspeed limitations, and they better have a quick answer. And if they don't, you call them on it. And I had one guy call me on that one time. We were talking aviation, and I said I used to fly Cobras, and he popped up. He said, what are your airspeed limitations? So let me go back 35 years and answer that question. VNE, velocity never to exceed, aka red line, is 190 knots. I've had it up to 235, but that's a war story. If you have rocket pods, it's 180. If you have missile launchers, it's 170. 150 is the maximum speed to fire a tow missile. 120 knots is maximum speed in auto rotation. 100 knots is maximum speed above 88% torque or above 9,500 pounds, or maximum glide distance with your wing stores jettison. 90 knots is the maximum speed with your glide distance in auto rotation with your wing stores attached. 60 knots is minimum descent rate in auto rotation. 50 knots is your minimum speed with your hydraulic failure. 35 knots sideways, 30 knots backwards, and 16 to 24 knots is when you pass through ETL. I'm not reading this, by the way, I'm just rattling this off. And that's the answer to the airspeed limitation question. So I asked this guy who claimed to own one of these things, what's your airspeed? He said, oh, I've had it up to about 75. So he doesn't understand what I was doing. So obviously this guy does not know these things. But that frustrated me to sit here and guys telling me, home simulator game people actually fly better than real pilots. Okay, and you know this because why? I've played simulator games and they're not how helicopters fly. The only thing I've ever flown that was close was at flight safety, which is a multi-million-dollar computer, sits up on hydraulics. Those are pretty good. I flew one in up in Dallas, flew one in Tucson, and then one over in Lafayette, Louisiana. Those were good. Oh, one up in Shreveport. Those were good. Those were really good. Those were a lot of fun. But anyway, that's how my weekend's been going. I've been on the clock. They keep calling in loads, and I keep not getting them. And I checked in before I started driving, and they said that they're looking. It's a weekend, and weekends are not good for this. But we're going up here a few more exits, and we're going to bail off. And I'll scroll through. Yeah, this highway, check this out. This used to be 2 lanes up here, and they finally expanded this area and got it to 3 lanes. It pitches off eventually, but they're expanding because they know that the world's got to move up here, and we're going to have a whole lot more civilization. So this is north side of Houston. Went through Conroe, went through Willis, went through New Caney, and now we're coming up on Huntsville. Huntsville's got a huge prison system up here. You can actually drive right up to the wall. There's a gas station here that I pulled into, and there's a guard tower that's kind of leaning over the gas station, which I thought was interesting. It's all brick walls and stuff, so it's kind of historical what they have. Sam Houston Statue Visitor Center. Oh, it's big. Okay, if you look straight ahead on the right side of the road, you can see the white spot up in the trees. That's Big Sam. We're going to be driving right at him. But he's a giant statue with the lights on his head, and there's a whole body right there. Just to the left of the green sign, you can see it. That's, call that Big Sam. Sam Houston from Republic of Texas days. They're on the right. Big sign says, don't pull off on the side of the road. People pull off on the side of the road and take pictures. Yeah, but he's got his own statue there. Like I said, I'm still on the clock, and when I'm at home and ready to jump in the van and go drive, I won't get a call. So what I do is I tempt the load gods by going away from my house. So if I get the call, it's inconvenient. So one of the ways of getting the transportation gods to give you a load is start doing something. Get invested in something. Start painting. Start working on something where you have to, junk in the road. Where you have to, scramble to get back and ready to go. So now what I'm doing is I'm driving, and I'm going like 25 miles away from my house. So now the gods, the cargo gods, will have to smile on me because they know it's going to take me 20 or 25 minutes to get home. But up here on the north side of town, gas right there at that station says 229 in case anybody's wondering. It's 219 by the house back there. Now that left lane's about to go away. Oh, this guy's in a hurry. Dude, you got somewhere to be. It's Saturday. Apparently, this guy needs to be there too. Yeah, they've been doing road control. There's a cop under the bridge right there. There's a highway patrol under the bridge on the other side, and I just about reached out to grab my CB radio, and it dawned on me I'm not in my van. And nothing I can do about it. Yeah, they've been doing this. They're expanding the highway. Yeah, they've been doing road construction up here for 15 years. On the other side of this wall, there's this big highway they're expanding, but I see they're not in a big hurry. Wow. Yeah, here on the north side of town, punch out here in about 2 or 3 minutes is where this museum is. I think I know the exit. I want to jump out and look at it. Yeah, I met a guy up here years ago, and he had a hand-me-down house that had been in the family since 1960. His parents bought it, or his grandparents bought it, or something. I think it was his grandparents owned it, and he was living in it. It just, you know, it gets handed down. And I was like, that's kind of perfect. You know, you live in a house, and you know, you get old, you pass on, you hand it off to your kids, and they get to live in it. It's paid for. You're just paying the taxes on it. You know, I'm like, that's kind of a good system for someone to do that. There we go. Whoa. Roads are marked funny up here. I landed up here many years ago. I was flying a Long Ranger, and the engine and the transmission on a helicopter, there's a magnet. It kind of looks like a spark plug. It plugs in where the oil circulates, and it's a magnet. And if anything closes the circuit, I'm talking about a sliver of metal touches two sides, about as wide as a number 2 pencil is the gap. If something closes the gap, it sets a light off. And I was up here doing power line. This is like 25 plus years ago, doing power line, and my transmission chip detector lit up. And I went, oh, and I was really close to the airport. And I swung into the airport, landed, and I went to roll the throttle off and bring the aircraft down to idle, and it sounded like somebody put an entire 15-piece set of silverware down a garbage disposal. I mean, it didn't get the throttle rolled off, and the whole engine, the whole transmission just disintegrated. And then I rolled the throttle off. It sounded, I mean, it was so loud over the sound of the engine and the rotor. People on the airport ramp stopped and looked over like, whoa. And I called the boss and I said, hey, I'm here in Huntsville, and the transmission just grenaded. And they go, oh, okay, well, fly it back to the hangar. I said, no, you don't understand. It was so loud that everybody at the airport heard it with the engine at 100%. He went, oh, that's not good. So I went and hung out in the lounge, and the mechanic drove from the other side of Houston. He pulled it apart. He said, yeah, that's done. And we tied it down to the ramp. We had to go get another transmission and put it in there. That was a bit of a surprise. But to have it just disintegrate like that from, you know, the chip light. Sometimes the chip light can be fuzz, which happens, and other times it can be catastrophic, and there's really no pattern to it. There's the flags right there, tells you the wind we're dealing with. And we're almost to this place. It's right here. It's going to be up here on the right. I don't remember Huntsville being this long from one end to the other. A lot of car dealers up here. Something about this part of the country that's so different from going up to the northeast is rust is not a thing around here. They don't salt. Oh, there it is. Come on. There's the place I'm looking for right there. All right, I'm going to get off right here. Rust isn't a thing. We don't really get frozen roads, and they don't use salt, so we don't run into that. This guy. Watch this. Ha ha! Your tractor's not fast enough for me. There's an old 58 parked out there on a stand. Alright. I don't know what Texas. What does that say? Let me get over here. Alright. Yeah, I have been off on this exit, but I always turn left to go to the pilot, so this is different going this way. Don't want to push it. There's a museum right here. And gotta wait on this guy. Texas Prison Museum. Yeah, not interested. Ooh, here's a military museum. What's this? Veterans Complex. Hearts Texas Museum. Ah, too many words. Hearts Veterans Museum of Texas. Well, this looks interesting. I just gotta figure out where I can park. Oh, they have a gamma goat. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. Let me see what we got here. Where do you park around here? I can start out over here and show you this. Yeah, toll road. I'm here in a parking lot. Whoa, that's the highway right there. I-25. All right, let me park here for 1 second and scroll through. That is a broken bladed Jet Ranger short leg, or as the Army calls it, an OH-58. Whoa, okay. I got a whole bunch of people on here. Hi to everybody coming in. This is a little adventure for me. I'm at a museum here in north side of Huntsville, a military museum. Let's see. Hello, the car you driving? This is a Kia Soul. We bought this new in 2014 and have got it and have been driving it since. We've had it now for, geez, coming up on 12 years. Yeah, liking it and no problems with it. Hey, but there's an audio reader apps for driving. No kidding. I got to look into that. That'll help. Would you rather see a tree grow or a knee grow? Jeez. There's hi. No, dude, don't be an ass. Let it go. Which part? Ohio loves overpasses and service roads. Yeah, they have them here, but when you get out in the middle of nowhere, they don't have that service road. Some places they're called a frontage, and other places they're called an arterial, which is interesting. Looks toll roadish. It's not. Pear trees, evasive as hell. Get out. Oh, great commentary. I'm gonna jump out here for 1 second. I want to show you something. This is an aviation specific thing, but hold on here. I'm gonna leave this thing running. Okay. Ooh, suddenly got cold outside. I want to show you something up close. Yes, I know there's no key in the car. Trust me. Like I said, that is they call that an OH-58, and OH stands for observation helicopter. That replaced the Hughes 500 they used in Vietnam in the early 70s, and the only reason they did that was Gerald Ford's wife had a bunch of money in Bell Helicopter, so they got rid of the Hughes. I'm just going to show you this water. Now, this is an aviation thing. You're flying along 5,000 feet above the ground, and you're trying to figure out where the wind is. Notice it's shiny right here and bumpy over there. The shiny side is where the wind's coming from. This works on lakes, rivers, streams, little tiny puddles, swimming pools, anything. So if you're ever wondering where the wind is, look at the water. That's just an aviation trick. So this is the Vietnam Wall Memorial, the Hart's Veterans Museum of Texas. And then there's the Texas Prison Museum. I'm not interested in that one. But let me drive around over here. That's my hoopty. Sorry, the wind's blowing. Ugh. Yeah, I've driven by this. I've lived in this area 25 years, and I've never actually gone in here. So we're going to take a quick peek. All right, back into the hoopty. I'll put this in the mount here for just a second. Whew. All right. Whew. Big Spring? Nah, this is Huntsville. We're north of Big Spring's way out to the west. This is straight north of Houston in Huntsville. All right, I'm rolling backwards here. Tell you what, I am addicted to backup cameras. My Mini Cooper I had that I was running back and forth when I was my last flying job. Great little car, but it didn't have a backup camera. And I tell you what, once you're used to backup cameras, yeah, you can't operate without one. Huntsville, Alabama. Oh, yeah, we're in a different place here. All right, backing up. I'm gonna steal that parking space right there. I gotta go away from the curb. Don't hit the curb. Wife won't be happy. All right. Let me cruise right over here. Pulling in. All right. I'm gonna take one more swig of my breakfast drink. Oh, no kidding. So they put those two together, the War Memorial and yeah, I'm just letting you know. That's my breakfast drink right there. All right. Let me go for a cruise here. All righty. Ooh. Yeah, you can feel that. I'm gonna walk around the outside first here. Alrighty. It's a good use for box. A lot of little things over here I recognize. Need to steam wash their walls. I came and I was eyeballing this. Problem, a lot of these museums, they leave their stuff outside, which I understand, but it wouldn't kill you to paint some stuff occasionally. How many episode MASH did you watch? There it is. This is the world famous deuce and a half. Comes in 2, 4, or 6-wheel drive. They've been making these since 2. We had one in our motor pool when I was enlisted. It was from 1945. The front end was different. They have a 6-cylinder in them, straight 6, 90 horsepower, with enough torque to climb a tree. And that is not a military issue Jeep. That's not. It's not a flat fender. That's not military issue. Those were new when I joined. The Humvees, that was a brand new thing when I first think. Don't take care of their stuff. Out here you got the ring on top for a weapon system. These had 300 horsepower, and these are the tow spindles to pick them up. You could hook them and lift them off the ground. But wow, that looks like garbage. Yeah, they're not taking care of their stuff here. I think they call that a 5-ton. I never messed with one of those. Ah, yes. This is ancient here. This is old. We had one of these in our motor pool. That's called a Gamma Goat. It had no suspension whatsoever. I don't even know what they had it for, but we drove it a couple of times. It kind of flexes there in the middle, but you go around a corner and the back end of this thing would wash out behind you because it would be shaking because there's no suspension. But look at that. An old Gamma Goat. I'm not even sure what the purpose of this was, other than just an ugly cargo vehicle. And then the iconic Huey, which again needs paint. That's an old one, single engine. This is what I learned how to fly in, was one of these back in the day. Yeah, that was my primary trainer. Well, somebody has been sanding on that. See all the paint's missing. The engine's gone. But yeah, this was my primary trainer. Yeah, they're getting ready to paint this. They're taping off the windows and whatnot. Wow. Yeah, these became iconic in Vietnam. And I don't know if these are still in service, but these have been around since 1957. Yeah, that's falling apart. It's been sitting in the weather too long. Got your there's a click and a second click. Well, this is real close to the Cobra. That was your rocket fire. That's your gas release for your balance in your motor system. It's kind of the same system. And these can be flown with the door open. You actually can lock these back all the way to here. Yeah, that one's had a rough life. This has been sitting here a while. I don't see a number on it. Okay. Excuse me. This is a 1971 model. That's old. Let's see, Jets. Rough life. Another Hummer over here. Is that a 60? When I first joined the Army, I actually crewed tanks. Hold on, let me read this. I gotta get the sun to my back. Sorry. Go, that's not what kids crave. It's Brando. The old 5-ton. Yeah, the 5-tons were a lot more capable. When I enlisted in '86, I actually crewed tanks, and I was in the M1. And they talk about the A1, the A2, the A3. I was an M1A nothing.
which is, this is an M60, I think. Is it? Yeah, M60. And it's got the 105. You can tell by the shape of this right here. I know that's weird, but that's how you can tell. Yeah, these have been around forever. M60, there's your... Yeah, these came out in the late 1950s, I think. You've got, there's your vision blocks if you got your hatch closed. I think that's where the coax machine gun is, and I think that's your sighting system for your backup sights. There's the dog house for the sights for the cupola and for the commander. These are the tow straps. You get stuck in the mud or you need to drag somebody who's out of gas or whatever. You hook them up to these things right here and you can tow them. Wow. This had I never crewed these, but this had a 750 horsepower diesel engine, and we had some maintenance vehicles that had the same setup, and when those things would drive to the motor pool, they were loud and left a big black cloud of smoke everywhere they went. Whereas the M1 was a turbine, was relatively quiet, and didn't leave any exhaust whatsoever. All right, cruising this way. That won't fit in the car. No, it will not. Yeah, I remember those things to drive. The M88, Mike 88 tank recovery vehicle had the same engine, and it was loud. What is this over here? Wish I had my hat. I'm sorry if this is windy. Texas Hearts Museum. Who are these guys? Oh, they're just people who served. Okay, flying tigers. Oh, no kidding. Interesting. I guess you could join that. And then, of course, there's an F-16 that needs a new canopy. There's a museum in Midland, Texas, aviation museum, has an F-80 shooting star like this outside. A tornado went by and sucked the canopy off and it's gone. So they went looking for a new canopy, and there's not like something you could buy. You know, they haven't made those jets since the 1950s. And one day a new canopy showed up leaning against the wall. They don't even know where it came from. Someone just walked over and said, here, and leaned it against the wall. I went, oh, that's kind of cool. And they have no idea who donated it. You remember World War II fighter planes? They got their machine guns in the wings. They put like 6 or 8 50 calibers. And they kind of went away, and the F-4 didn't even have a gun. It was kind of a stupid idea, but they put a Vulcan cannon, which is right here. This is where the Vulcan sits. Just one. It only has like 300 rounds. So basically, you get in super duper close, you slip the guns, and you go burp, and that's all you got. And then we'll get to the sun behind us over here. But there's the Cobra. Can't see any numbers on it. Hold on. Cartridge activating device warning. I have no idea what that means. Let me walk right here behind us. All right. Fuba. Let me see if I can get in the shade here. Well, that's what I flew when I played Army. I don't see. Oh, that's not fair. I'm trying to get a tail number, and that says 0-22740. What's 0? 70? But that's all fabricated right there. That's supposed to be a 3-barreled Vulcan. That's just homemade. The gray parts are real. The plastic stuff in the middle is just PVC pipe. I don't know why they did that. And that's the old rotor blades. That's a B540 rotor blade. See how they're flat on the end? The 747s were tipped. But that's the old Cobra. That's the one I keep seeing from the road. Yeah, that's sunburnt. That's been up here a while. Alright, let's see. Artillery. I don't know what size this is. I know they have thousands of the World War II era 105 cannons. I don't think this is a 105, this is bigger. But there are thousands of them in storage. It's, again, World War II era, and I think just to empty out the storage buildings, they started giving them to the Ukrainian military. They love them. They're real simplistic. It's not a real big shell. Yeah, this is way too big to be a 105. Does it say? Carriage howitzer 155. 1944. Oops, sorry. 1944. Yeah, this is a 155. You can tell that the barrel's too thick. Yeah, that's way too big. But it looks kind of like that's a 105, and I read about this the other day. They have thousands of them, and they're ancient, but they work. They do the job. They throw big explosive bullets. So apparently they were very happy with that. It's the Ukrainian military. When a Cobra is flying, the aircraft sits kind of like this. So the pilot who's in the back seat actually looks over the head of the guy in the front seat. Yeah. Like I said, I have not been inside this place. I don't know what they're doing in here. I don't know if I got to pay to get in or not. I didn't even look. I just pulled up. Of course, you were there with me. North Huntsville Service Center. All right. Let me go see if I can wander in here. And I don't know what I'm up against. It's a nice day out here. It's like 60 degrees. So when I walk in, I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes. Tax money. You never see these at government auctions. There have been people who have gone to auctions and bought surplus, and it's a box, and they get into the bottom of the box. So one guy found the fuel control unit for an F-16, which cost like $50,000, and ended up selling it back to the government. All right, let's wander over here and see if I can get in here. I may have to set this down, but use both of my hands. Yeah, I've never set foot in here. I mean, I may get in, it may be free. I may have to get a veteran discount, but I may have to set this phone down, so hold on. Veterans Museum. Howdy.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Is there an interior?
Is there, the museum is right there, sir.
The museum's right there.
Yes,
Cool,
sir.
thank you. Hours of operation. Like I said, I don't know if I'm paying to get in here or not. Looks like I do. Whoa. Do I pay to come in?
Were you at the breakfast?
No.
Yes, sir. There is a fee. So are you? It's $5.
$5. Hold on a second here. Need my hands. $5. No, Johnny can't have his operation. Back when I was young, we could get in these museums for 50. No, what is it? 2 bits? 2 bits.
Well, electricity's gone up since then.
Yeah, tell me about it. All right, cool. I'm gonna wander around.
All right. And could I get you just to sign right here for me? Just your name, where you're from, today's date, and the first one. The 7th.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh. Mom's birthday.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna be in trouble.
Okay.
I gotta call Mom.
All right.
Oh. Okay. I'm hoping this is not. Wow. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go the other way. This guy's over here talking. The 50 cal. They're using those in. Hey, let me know. Is this skipping or interrupting? If anybody's got that, let me know. What is this supposed to be? 81mm mortar. That's cheap artillery. like the new uniform. Grading and skipping. Okay, I got to move real slow then. If I clip on your grading and skipping, sorry. Let me move it around here. Terrorist body bag. Okay, sorry about the quality of the video. Wow, they got a lot in here. Okay, if this is... All right, I'm watching. This is showing a skip. Let me come back on here later because this isn't working very well in here, and I apologize, but I'll be back on later.